The goal of every single Rocket League player is to get better every single day they play the game. The easiest way to improve is to set goals for yourself that you strive to achieve. If your focus is on small aspects of the game, it becomes much easier to improve in those areas. So today, we'll be setting 5 goals for ourselves based on our own gameplay that we will strive to improve throughout the entirety of 2024. And by the time we get to the end of it, hopefully we'll be able to look back and notice how much we have improved overall. Now, the first goal we want to set for ourselves is better control, and this is the moment that highlights this issue for us right here. So as we can see, this ball is heading towards the backboard. We are kind of awkwardly positioned here as the last man back, but we do recognize that there's not much of a threat from the opponents. So with how awkwardly this ball is bouncing down, we do have an opportunity to take control of it. So as we go ahead and take a look at what happens here, the ball bounces down, we make the tight turn, and now what we want to do is catch this on the front end of our car, so we push it forward and get around this player, and then we can focus on dealing with the second defender. Unfortunately, we're not going to get a very good initial catch, which is going to make getting around this defender quite awkward, and then we're going to be in a bit of a panic mode as we push the ball forward. So as we'll see here, we go ahead and try to get this catch. It lands more on top of our car, so now it pushes out to the side of us. Luckily, we do still get around the other defender, but now the ball is kind of just awkwardly out in front of us without us really having much control overall. And now we get startled by this defender being here, and instead of trying to keep control of this ball, we end up just flipping it away, which invites an opportunity for the defender to turn and get the challenge to take the ball off of us, as you'll see here. Control is such an important aspect of Rocket League, and if you can master it to an extremely high level, you will be able to beat a lot of players in 1v1 situations. I definitely have moments where I can catch the ball and control it very well, but those moments are unfortunately not as consistent as I'd like, which is why this aspect of the game finds itself on our goals list. The next goal that we'd really like to work on is having smarter challenges. And we're going to see 2 examples here, one good idea of a challenge and one poor one that is then going to result in us getting scored on, which is why we really need to focus in this area. So as this ball floats out from our teammate, it's going to pop into the midfield. Now, our teammate is out of the play here, so we could rush in and try to fully dive at this, flip forward, and try to put it into our opponent's half. But because our opponent is working laterally across the field with the ball, it is extremely difficult to get that challenge cleanly without the ball bouncing back into a dangerous spot. So with this in mind, we're going to make an initial smart play here to just drive forward, force the opponent to do something, and we can keep our wheels on the ground and just turn with the play as it continues in this direction. So that's a great idea, right? We bought teammate time to get back, we've made sure that we haven't taken ourselves out of the play, and we've forced the opponent to do something. That's all well and good, and exactly what we want to be doing in a situation like this. But now the ball's gonna pop over to the side, and now again we find ourselves in a similar situation. We don't really have much to gain from even getting a touch on this ball, because more than likely, even if we do, it's just going to bang off the wall and go back into the midfield. Whoop-de-doo, that hasn't done much at all since our teammate is way back here, and this player can just circle around, or the other opponent can come in for another challenge. So instead of attempting to get a dive challenge here, where we might be really far out of the play without any boost to work with once we land, we should again look for another drive challenge here, force this opponent to do something with the ball, which should hopefully allow our teammate to rotate in, and we can simply rotate back around to maintain our rotations. However, this wouldn't be on our list if that was what we decided to do, because nope, we are going to throw ourselves at this ball, land out of the play, and then even worse, we're going to go ahead and grab this mid boost thinking that our teammates should be fine, but unfortunately we have a bit of an awkward bounce here along the wall, which makes it really difficult for our teammate to read, and unfortunately because of that difficult bounce, he gets taken off the field and it's just a wide open net. Challenging really is the cornerstone of Rocket League. If you can challenge the ball better than your opponents, you have a great opportunity to win. And challenges is all about trying to keep the ball in your possession as much as possible. Obviously, when you and an opponent are both going for the ball, you're never quite 100% sure where it's going to go, but you can do a lot of things in those challenges that allow you to maintain control of the play as a whole, as we could have seen here. If we had just forced the opponent to do something in that situation and had just driven back, then when our teammate inevitably missed or got demoed, we would have been in a position to cover for them rather than leaving them alone on an island in a very awkward situation to deal with. So just being smarter in what challenges we do and do not go for will go a long way to helping us improve throughout 2024. Next up, let's talk about shooting. You know, the whole part of the game where you actually take the ball and put it into the goal and give yourself a point. That's a pretty important part of the game to be able to do well. And as we're gonna see here, we do it less than well, so to speak. So, teammate has gotten this great clear down the field, and he clearly has possession here of the ball on the backboard. Now, we want to make sure that we put ourselves in a position to be able to play off a pass coming across. We recognize that we have one defender coming back right here. So now, the idea of shooting is really all about putting ourselves in a spot to receive a pass, and then making sure that we're in a spot where we can then put the ball around wherever the defender goes. We want to make sure that we give ourselves as good a chance as possible to put the ball into an open part of the net. So we're going to do a couple things well here. So we recognize, hey, there might be a pass coming out, so let's put ourselves in a spot to make a play. We are in a great spot. Now, let's look at where our opponent is. Why? They are not really in a good spot at all, are they? No, they're kind of just flailing off the top of the net, going for a squishy save of some kind. Maybe they thought a shot was coming directly, but they are facing straight forward. So we actually have a brilliant opportunity here to score on this side, score on this side. Really take your pick. The only area that's not open is the ground right in front of the net. So we can even shoot up here, and that would also be good. And we're not in a terrible spot. We're over here on the left side of the ball. Should allow us to chip it over to the right and take that open bottom corner. Now that's what you think would happen. And that's what we would want to do in this situation. Unfortunately, we actually aren't far enough on the left side of the ball to be able to generate enough power. We're also a little bit too far forward, as it turns out, to be able to get any kind of good angle on this shot. So instead of being where we are, ideally, if we could have been, say, back here-ish, we would have been able to run onto this ball and take a shot a little bit more aggressively than cutting across from this direction. Or if we had taken a better angle, we might have been able to do a bit more. But instead, we end up with this really awkward side-on touch. And as you can tell from the angle we're hitting this at, it's not going to go anywhere too crazy. It's going to be right to our opponent, which, you know, really great idea, even though we had this entire back of the net to shoot at. So clearly we need to work on our shot power, shot placement, everything that involves the run up to the shot as well could be a lot better. Obviously, when you're shooting on a defended net, the shot really becomes all about power and placement being combined. So we really want to make sure that we're doing both of those things to a high level, and in this example here, we did neither of them to a high level, which resulted in the easy save. Next up on our list, we're talking about awareness. Now, awareness is extremely important because it really does tell you what you should and should not be doing with the ball, and where you should and should not be going on the field. And in this instance right here, we are going to have a bit of bad awareness that is going to result in us being put in a very dangerous situation. So, as we can see here, ball pushing towards the backboard. One opponent here, we do have an opportunity to jump up and challenge this, as we do have a teammate behind us. So we go ahead and get this initial challenge, pop it along the wall. That's all well and dandy. And now we recognize, okay, another defender coming here. We're going to go ahead and not rush this ball, so to make them a little bit awkward. and to give us maybe a bit of an opportunity to control the ball. So, as we can see here, just going to take it nice and slow. Turns out it is a fake challenge coming through from the defender, but now we're in a position where we can control the ball. But this is where awareness comes in. So if we look here, this player has already turned back towards the ball, which means as soon as we catch this, we are going to have a challenge on us, which means with this catch, we need to position ourselves to deal with this initial challenge. And if we don't notice that this is coming, this ball is going to be rocketed back around the corner because of a hard challenge coming through, with us just kind of teeing the ball up on top of our car. And unfortunately, that's exactly what we're going to do, as we just keep the ball nice and soft on top of our car, and the opponent wastes no time in recognizing the opportunity and taking that ball right off of us. Now we can also see our teammate here has snuck out into the corner, probably thinking that we were going to have decent control out of this situation. So now we've not only given up control of the ball, we've also put our teammate in another awkward spot because he was not prepared for us to lose the ball this badly. And now because of this, ball is going to head back around the corner. We do rotate around. Teammate, unfortunately, now because he's in an awkward spot, can't quite get in front of it, gets bumped off, and now we can't react in time to get a good enough challenge in front of the ball, and it's just into the net. But that entire situation comes down to just understanding where the opponents were and what they were trying to do. If we had identified that there was a challenge coming in, we could have positioned ourselves appropriately and at least gotten a good 50-50 on that ball, instead of just giving it up for free because we didn't recognize that a challenge was coming. Now, the last goal we want to mention here is we want to make sure that we are being less jumpy. What I mean by this is jumping at balls way before we actually need to, therefore putting us in a very bad spot overall, both on the ball and when we eventually land. So what we'll see right here is our teammate going up and getting a challenge here. He gets a great block, honestly, and it puts the ball into open space. So now we have a great opportunity here. This opponent is out of the play for a while, and this defender is just sitting on the ground as this ball floats in the air. Now, the important thing is that we don't want to jump for this ball too quickly, because if we do, what exactly are we going to do with it? If we jump super early, sure, maybe we can get a shot towards the net, but with our minimal boost, it's not really going to be overly threatening, because it's just going to be one soft tap in that direction. Or alternatively, we could just get a horrible touch up at the top of the jump, and the ball just floats into open space and is free control for our opponent. Instead, what we want to look for here is we want to keep an eye on this opponent to see what they're doing, and then react accordingly. If we recognize that they're going to go for the ball, honestly, in this situation, they can probably just have it, because what are they going to do in this position that is going to threaten us who are sitting perfectly safe back on our side of the field? If we recognize that they are going back to net, now we need to utilize the space that's given and try to take control of this ball to make a play while we have some time with this player being out of the play. But instead of doing anything smart like keeping an eye on the opponent, we are just going to full send up into the air right away, and we're gonna not have enough boost to make any kind of decent touch on this ball with how we've used it. Probably could have been a bit more conscious of that boost usage as we went up for this touch, but now instead of anything threatening, not only do we run out of boost at the top of our jump, we also get a terrible touch on this ball that just drops it into the midfield, which is exactly the danger that I had mentioned. If we had instead taken our time, worst case scenario, this player gets a touch, say, over this direction, and if we look back, our teammate is already in a spot to have challenged that, and we could have just stayed on the ground in that instance and rotated back. But now we've taken ourselves out of the play with zero boost, dropped the ball into the midfield for free, and left our teammates in a 2v1, which is definitely not what you want to be doing in the middle of overtime. And as we'll see here, this is just a terrible touch. We land super far out of the play. We try to work our way back in, but again, teammate being in that 2v1, good freaking luck. And that is another goal conceded because I left my teammate in a bad spot based on a poor decision. So we just need to be a little more conscious in that situation of diving too quickly. We just want to make the smart decision whenever we have the opportunity to do so, and it will result in us playing a much more in-control game. So that'll just about wrap it up for the goals I want to set for myself for the coming year. I do highly recommend that you guys try this out for yourself because it will showcase to you what you need to work on to become better players. Sure, you can just hop into ranked every day, but if you aren't actually thinking about what you want to improve on, you're never going to make any kind of big leap in terms of skill. So thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below so you make sure you don't miss any future Rocket League content. Additionally, if you'd like to be a bit more involved in the community that we're building here, please consider joining my Discord, which I'll have linked down in the description. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys.